Today's mindful moment, ready to journey back to the American Civil War. We're not hitting the textbooks this time, though.
No.
We're going deeper. Unearthing the human side of this conflict through the Civil War by Geoffrey C.
Oh, fantastic book.
Incredible source material. It's like having a direct line to those who lived through it. Letters, diaries, newspaper articles from that era.
Yeah, you really get a sense of the human cost right from the start. Ward doesn't shy away from it. 185,000 Black Americans taking up arms to fight for their freedom.
He's powerful.
Families up in Maine grieving for sons lost in battles fought so far away. And then there's Robert E. Lee turning down Union command only to lead the Confederacy. History is full of ironies, isn't it?
It really highlights the impossible choices people faced. And the book does a great job of grounding these big historical figures in personal stories, like with Elijah Lovejoy.
Oh, absolutely.
He was a reverend and an editor driven out of Missouri for his anti-slavery views. He relocates to Illinois thinking he's finally safe.
You think so, right?
But a mob attacks his warehouse.
Determined to silence him permanently. Tragic story, but it really underscores those escalating tensions. It wasn't just about opinions anymore. Lovejoy was defending his right to free speech.
And he paid the ultimate price.
Exactly. It becomes this turning point, this event that really ignites passions on both sides of the slavery debate.
And speaking of passionate, that's where John Brown enters the picture. This guy is so affected by Lovejoy's murder that he dedicates his life to destroying slavery, even advocating for violence.
Oh yeah, he was radical.
His read on Harper's Ferry is famous, of course. But the book shows how this mindset was brewing for years. This wasn't some sudden impulse.
It's fascinating to see how his story contrasts with figures like Frederick Douglass. Douglass admired Brown's passion, of course, but as a former slave himself,
He knew the risks.
he understood the risks, absolutely, and he
Yeah.
believed in strategic action over just pure emotion. So you see this internal debate within the abolitionist movement itself.
It wasn't a unified front.
Exactly. Different approaches, different philosophies, all aimed at the same goal.
And that goal was gaining momentum. The entire abolitionist movement was growing, with figures like William Lloyd Garrison leading the charge. His newspaper, The Liberator, might not have had massive readership, but its message was uncompromising.
Uncompromising and influential. It really fueled the national debate on slavery, forced people to confront the issue head on.
But of course, they faced incredible opposition.
Every step of the way, legal restrictions, mob violence, it really shows how entrenched the pro-slavery forces were, how challenging it was even to speak out against it. Freedom of speech was on the line right alongside the fight against slavery itself.
And then we come to Abraham Lincoln. Initially, he believed slavery would eventually die out on its own.
Right, a more gradual approach.
His main focus was keeping the Union together, not necessarily tackling slavery head-on, which makes you think about the complexities leaders face trying to balance ideals with political reality.
It's a fascinating setup for Lincoln's transformation as the war unfolds. You almost get a sense of foreshadowing, right? The man who wanted to avoid the slavery issue eventually becomes the one who issues the Emancipation Proclamation.
Speaking of things unfolding, the book doesn't just jump straight to war. We see those tensions escalating. The Fugitive Slave Act, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, actual violence erupting in Kansas.
Each event like a domino pushing the nation closer to the brink.
It's almost like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Well, it shows the utter failure of compromise. The divisions were too deep, the political solutions just couldn't bridge the gap. Sometimes historical forces build and build until conflict becomes almost inevitable.
And inevitably it did. The Southern states seceded, full of confidence in their impending victory. We even see the differing views within the Confederacy itself, like those of Jefferson Davis and Alexander H. Stephens,
Right, it wasn't a monolithic South.
even as they united against the North.
Yeah, that initial Southern confidence is almost eerie in hindsight. They believed in their military superiority, in the economic power of cotton. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises, and even those who seem destined to win can end up on the losing side.
And with secession, the war finally erupts. Ward brings the attack on Fort Sumter to life through those first-hand accounts. The reactions, the mobilizations.
You can practically hear the cannons.
It's a palpable shift from political bickering to the harsh reality of armed conflict.
Absolutely. Fort Sumter is the spark that ignites the powder keg. It shatters any remaining hope of a peaceful resolution. And suddenly, the nation is plunged headfirst into a war that many thought would be quick and decisive.
But as we'll see, those early battles shatter that illusion pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. We go from naive anticipation of a swift victory to scenes like the Great Skedaddle at Bull Run.
It's almost comical, except, of course.
Except it underscores how unprepared both sides were for the long and bloody conflict ahead.
And the book doesn't let us forget the vast differences in resources. The North had more manpower, industry, railroads.
Oh, they had the advantage, for sure.
But the South had a fierce determination, a belief in their cause that would sustain them far longer than many anticipated. It's a classic underdog story, only with incredibly high stakes.
And incredibly high costs, too, as we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much more to uncover as we dive deeper into the Civil War. But for now, we'll leave it there.
Sounds good.
Now we start meeting the individuals who become legends. Ulysses S. Grant, George McClellan, and of course Robert E. Lee.
Larger-than-life figures.
But the book doesn't just throw names at you.
Right.
It really delves into their personalities, their strategic thinking, their triumphs and failures. These aren't just names on a page anymore.
No, they become real people. And you see how their decisions, both good and bad, directly impact the lives of thousands.
Speaking of decisions, the book brings those to life through detailed accounts of key battles and campaigns, Shiloh the Peninsula Campaign, Antietam,
Each one a turning point, pushing the narrative forward.
and highlighting the strategic complexities of this conflict.
It's not just about who won or lost these battles, though.
Right.
It's about understanding the larger context, the political ramifications, the shifting momentum that ultimately determined the fate of the nation. And the book does a brilliant job of connecting these military events to the broader story.
As the war drags on, Lincoln grapples with the elephant in the room, slavery.
An issue that had been simmering for decades.
The Emancipation Proclamation wasn't just a document, it was a turning point,
Absolutely.
transforming the war's objectives and forever altering the course of American history.
What's crucial here is that it wasn't just a moral decision. Lincoln had to balance the moral imperative of ending slavery with the strategic realities of the war.
He was walking a tightrope.
Exactly. And then recruiting black soldiers added another layer of complexity.
Right.
It highlights the evolving role of race and emancipation
Yeah.
in the fight for the nation's soul.
And the book doesn't just focus on the battlefields. It takes us into the homes, the farms, the factories, both north and south.
The whole nation was mobilized.
We see how the war impacted everyday life. The economic hardships, the social divisions, the emotional toll on families and communities far removed from the front lines.
It's a reminder that war isn't just about armies and battles.
No.
It's about the countless individual lives affected, the sacrifices made, the resilience shown by those who had to carry on amidst the chaos and uncertainty.
And then we reach two pivotal battles that even those unfamiliar with Civil War history have likely heard of.
Vicksburg and Gettysburg.
Exactly. The book really drives home the strategic importance of Vicksburg giving the Union control of the Mississippi and splitting the Confederacy.
A major turning point.
And then there's Gettysburg, the battle with such immense casualties that is considered a turning point in the war's momentum.
It's hard to overstate the significance of those battles.
They represent the combination of years of fighting, the sacrifices of countless soldiers, the turning of the tide that ultimately led to the Union's victory. It's history at its most dramatic, and the book captures that drama beautifully.
And tragic?
Yes. From there, the book takes us through the final brutal campaigns. Grant's Overland Campaign, Sherman's March to the Sea.
You really get a sense of the Confederacy being squeezed from all sides.
The relentless pressure, the shrinking resources, the dwindling morale, the end is inevitable, and the book doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of that final push toward Confederate defeat.
Sherman's March to the Sea stands out as a particularly controversial episode.
Absolutely.
The destruction, the psychological impact on the South, it raises questions about the very nature of war and its lasting consequences, questions that are still debated today.
And then, finally, the war comes to an end. The book describes Lee's surrender at Appomattox Courthouse with such detail, such emotion that you almost feel like you're there.
I can picture it.
The exhaustion, the relief, the sorrow that marked the end of this incredibly bloody chapter in American history.
It's a poignant moment, for sure. But the story doesn't end there.
No, it doesn't.
The assassination of Lincoln casts a long shadow over the victory, reminding us that the wounds of war run deep and the path to reconciliation is long and arduous.
A sobering reminder that victory doesn't erase the pain, the loss, the deep divisions that led to the conflict in the first place. It sets the stage for the challenges of Reconstruction, the struggle to rebuild a nation fractured by years of war.
What's remarkable is how Ward connects these historical events to broader themes of American identity: the struggle for freedom and equality, the enduring tension between unity and division. It's not just a history book, it's a reflection on the very soul of a nation.
Makes you realize that studying the Civil War isn't just for history buffs.
Not at all.
It's about understanding the DNA of America itself.
Absolutely. It's about those core struggles that we're still grappling with today. What does freedom truly mean? How do we achieve equality? And what happens when those ideals clash with deeply entrenched systems of power?
The book does a great job of showing how the systems of power played out, especially in the Confederacy. They weren't just fighting to preserve a way of life.
No.
They were fighting to maintain a hierarchy where slavery was the bedrock.
And it's crucial to remember that the South wasn't some monolith. Ward highlights the internal divisions, the debates over states' rights versus a stronger central government. Even in their fight for independence, they were wrestling with fundamental questions about governance and identity.
We often hear about the famous generals and battles, but the book shines a light on those who are often forgotten. The ordinary soldiers, the families back home, the enslaved people yearning for freedom.
It's through their stories that the true cost of war becomes painfully clear.
Personal.
Exactly. Those personal accounts, the letters, diaries, firsthand testimonies, that's what makes this history come alive. You hear the fear, the hope, the grief, the determination in their own words. It's a powerful reminder that history isn't just about dates and events. It's about the human beings who lived through them.
One group whose stories really resonated with me were the black soldiers fighting for the Union. Imagine facing discrimination even within the army you're fighting for, yet still displaying incredible courage and determination.
It's incredible.
It adds another layer to our understanding of the fight for freedom.
Absolutely. It challenges the traditional narrative, forces us to confront the complexities of race and equality within the context of the war itself. Their contributions were vital, and the book ensures they're not relegated to a footnote in history.
The war's impact on the home front is also brought to life vividly. Families torn apart, economies and shambles communities grappling with loss and uncertainty.
A reminder that even those far from the battlefields were deeply affected by the conflict.
The ripple effect.
Exactly. It underscores the ripple effect of war, how it permeates every aspect of society, leaving scars that can take generations to heal. The book doesn't shy away from those scars, both physical and emotional.
Speaking of scars, the descriptions of battles like Shiloh and Gettysburg are truly harrowing. The sheer scale of the violence, the brutality of the fighting, the devastating losses on both sides.
Hard to read sometimes.
It's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict.
It's essential that we don't sanitize history, that we confront the horrors of war head-on. Only then can we truly appreciate the magnitude of what happened and understand the importance of working towards peace and reconciliation.
And even in the face of such brutality, there are moments of hope and inspiration woven throughout the book. Acts of courage, compassion, and resilience shine through,
It's inspiring.
reminding us of the human capacity for good even in the darkest of times.
It's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, the ability to find strength and hope even amidst unimaginable suffering. Those stories are what make history not just a chronicle of events, but a source of inspiration and a call to action.
It's a call to action that echoes down through the centuries, challenging us to confront the legacies of the Civil War that still linger today. Issues of racial injustice, political polarization, the struggle to create a more perfect union.
The book reminds us that history isn't just something that happened in the past. It's a living narrative that shapes our present and influences our future. By understanding the complexities of the Civil War, we can gain valuable insights into the challenges we face today and find inspiration in the stories of those who fought for a better world.
So to sum it all up, The Civil War by Geoffrey C. Ward isn't just another history book.
It's so much more.
It's a journey into the heart of America, a story that will challenge you, move you, and leave you with a deeper understanding of who we are as a nation.
If you want to truly understand America, its triumphs and its tragedies, its struggles and its aspirations, this is a book you absolutely must read. It's a powerful reminder that the past is never truly past, and its lessons continue to shape our world today.
We've only scratched the surface in this deep dive, but hopefully we've given you a taste of what this incredible book has to offer.
It's a feast for the mind.
If you're ready to embark on your own journey into the heart of the Civil War, you can find a link to purchase Geoffrey C. Ward's masterpiece in the episode description.
I highly recommend it.
And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more fascinating journeys into knowledge. Share this episode with a friend who loves history, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.